Today we'll recap a 2013 American supernatural horror film named Evil Dead, directed by Fede Alvarez. It is the fourth installment in the Evil Dead franchise. The film follows a group of 5 people who are possessed and killed by supernatural entities in a remote cabin in the woods. Toward the start of the film, we see a young lady in a forest. That girl was badly injured, and then suddenly somebody runs from behind her. She then sees a man standing some distance away, seeing whom she gets terrified and takes cover behind a tree. However, a man puts a sack over her head, and then another man hits on her head. We then see her tied in a cabin cellar, where we see an old woman doing some kind of ritual, and afterward, she begins reciting incantations from a strange book. That girl starts begging them to release her when a man takes off her mask. This man is her dad, who tells her that these individuals are helping them. Now the girl does not understand anything, and here he tells her that she killed her mom. Then he pours gasoline on her and is going to set her ablaze. However, the girl uncovers that she has been possessed by a satanic soul, and threatens to kill him. During this, that demon starts burning, and afterward, the man shoots and kills her. We see David, who meets his friend Olivia, and introduces her to his girlfriend Natalie. He then meets his friend Eric, who lets him know that her sister is waiting for him. He then meets Maya, who is his younger sister, and then there comes their dog named Grandpa. The group has come to stay in the same cabin, where Maya swears in front of all that she will never take drugs. Now they come inside the cabin where some odd smell is coming, and the state of the cabin is exceptionally awful. After this, David is fixing the cabin, when Olivia comes to him and says that they have attempted to bring an end to Maya's drug addiction previously, yet she began it once more. However, this time they won't release her. Now around evening time, Maya starts having serious withdrawal side effects and complains of an overwhelming scent of decay. But no one else was getting that smell. Afterward, Grandpa goes close to a rug and starts scratching it. Seeing this, David removes the rug and sees that underneath it is a way to the cellar with blood on it, which everybody is shocked to see. Now when David opens the cellar, an extremely terrible stench comes from inside. Then David and Eric go downstairs, where they find that the cabin cellar is covered with rotting animal corpses. Seeing this, the two of them are very much shocked, and then David sees a pole that was burnt. Then they observe a shotgun, and a book there which was covered. Now they bring all the things out where they begin discussing it, on which Maya says that they shouldn't have touched all this. After this, we see Eric who is removing the cover from that book. He opens the book and reads the name of the book, which was Naturam de Monto. Then he begins taking a look at the book which resembled a diabolical book, and afterward, he unconsciously begins perusing an incantation composed on it. And we see that a malevolent force is moving extremely quickly through the backwoods towards the cabin. And afterward, Maya suddenly starts vomiting, after which she sees a bloody young lady in the woods. She promptly strolls in and lets Olivia know that she is leaving from here. But they think that she is doing this due to not getting drugs, and they say that they won't let her go from here. Hearing this, Maya gets very angry, and she takes the vehicle keys and leaves from that point. Now she is on the way, when out of nowhere the girl comes before her vehicle, because of which the balance of the vehicle is lost and she falls into a pit loaded up with water. After some time when she comes to her senses, she sees that the car isn't starting. She gets out of the car and we see the force rushing towards her, and then Maya hears her friends who are searching for her. However, the girl rises out of the water, seeing which Maya gets extremely terrified and begins running from there. After running some distance, she falls, where plants from a demonic tree trap her. She attempts to free herself, however, vines begin choking her by wrapping over her neck, and here she sees that the horrendous girl is her devilish form. Then a vine emerges out of her mouth, which starts entering inside Maya's body, and in no time she becomes possessed. Then David finds Maya sitting under a tree, after which he brings her to the cabin. Here Maya lets him know that he needs to get her out of here, as there was something in the forest, and it's in here with them now. In any case, David doesn't pay attention to her words and leaves from there, and only then does Maya sees the demon girl in the mirror. We then see David who is searching for Grandpa and finds that he has been murdered. While nearby, he sees a bloodstained hammer and feels that Maya has killed him. Now he goes to the cabin searching for Maya, where Maya is standing under the shower. He asks her to open the door. However, she makes the water excessively hot. David breaks open the door and sees that Maya is burning seriously from the hot water. Now they get stunned to see this and quickly sets up to take her to the hospital, where Maya's health starts deteriorating on the way. After going some distance, David stops the car and sees that the way to go from there was flooded with rainwater. Here in the cabin, Eric sees that all that is occurring to Maya is written in the book. David brings her back where Olivia tells him that her burns are serious. Now they were discussing this when Maya comes there with a shotgun. Seeing that everybody gets frightened, David advises her to put down the weapon. However, she shoots him, and afterward, a force enters the cabin from outside and Maya begins screaming loudly, causing a storm inside the cabin. Then suddenly all that quiets down and Maya says that they are all going to die tonight, after which she faints there. Then Olivia goes to get the weapon. However, Maya gets her hand and then vomits a large amount of vile substance onto her face. Olivia somehow manages to throw her inside the cellar, and seeing this, Eric promptly shuts the cellar door. Next, Olivia sees that the pages of that book are turning and a particular page opens in it, and afterward, her body abruptly freezes and now she looks possessed. The door of her room shuts on its own, hearing the sound of which Eric comes there. He hears some sounds from the restroom and sees that Olivia is sitting in a corner doing something, and when he goes to her, he sees that Olivia had cut her entire mouth. Seeing this, he gets extremely terrified and slips and falls there, and afterward, the restroom door gets shut. Now Olivia assaults him and starts stabbing him continuously, but he somehow pushes her down. Then Olivia begins moving towards him once more. However, Eric kills her by squashing her head with a broken restroom seat. Next, we see David bandaging his wound when Eric lets him know that he reads some sort of prayer from the book that released something evil. On the other hand, we see Natalie, who sees that the cellar door is open. All of a sudden she hears Maya's chuckling and she begins to leave in dread. However, Maya calls out to her for help, hearing that Natalie begins walking toward her. But then Maya says in a demonic voice that he will not let them go. Hearing this, Natalie starts running away from there, but Maya drags her inside the cellar. After some time she regains consciousness and sees possessed Maya before her, who starts licking her and then abruptly chomps her hand. After this, she slits her tongue with a cutter and then begins kissing it. Just then David opens the cellar door and Natalie comes out from there. The demon tells him that she is not Maya, after which David shuts the door and seals it with a chain. Now David goes to Eric and sees that he is attempting to burn the book, but it isn't burning. Here Eric explains to him that this book is about an evil entity. The taker of souls must claim 5 souls to unleash the abomination. He states that this entity has become attached to Maya's soul and that Maya must be purified either by live burial, bodily dismemberment, or burning. On the other hand, Natalie sees that the infection is spreading on her hand, and afterward, she sees that Maya is watching her from under the cellar door. Here demon was trying to possess her, but Natalie cuts off her hand to avoid the possession. Now David and Eric are talking about how to deal with this, when possessed Natalie comes there and attacks them with a nail gun. David somehow escapes and hides, but she severely injures Eric. After this, she starts attacking Eric with a rod and is about to kill him, but David shoots her hand. She then returns to normal but bleeds to death in David's arms. David then comes out of the house with injured Eric, and then begins to douse the cabin in gasoline to burn down the cabin with Maya in it. However, Maya starts singing a song from her childhood, so he stops and decides to bury her instead. He digs a grave and heads into the cellar to try to subdue Maya. But here the demon attacks him and starts beating him badly. She attempts to drown him, but just then Eric shows up and attacks Maya, which saves David. Yet, during this, he gets fatally stabbed and dies there. Now David starts burying Maya when she starts screaming and asks her for help. But David understands that this is a demon's trick and he keeps on burying her. Then, suddenly the tree burning there gets extinguished, after which David begins digging the ground once more and takes out Maya, and begins giving her an electric shock. However, she does not survive. Then he sadly begins leaving from there, but she calls him and he sees the demon is exorcised and Maya is healed. Next, David comes inside the cabin to get the car keys where possessed Eric stabs him in the neck. David comes out harmed and advises Maya to leave, and locks the door. Now Eric starts walking towards him, but David shoots a can of gasoline with a shotgun, setting the cabin on fire, killing himself and the possessed Eric. With David's death, blood begins to rain down from the sky and a demon emerges from under the ground, seeing whom Maya gets terrified and hides in a small cave. But then she sees that the demon finds her there, and she goes through that cave to reach a storeroom. Now here Maya gets a chainsaw, but only then does the demon reach there, and Maya comes out avoiding her and hides under David's car. Now Demon is looking for her when she cuts off her leg, but the demon overturns David's car, beneath which Maya's arm gets stuck. Now the demon starts moving toward her, so she tears her arm off. After this, she picks up the chainsaw and puts it in her mouth, and kills it by bisecting its head. Then she sees that the body of the demon sinks inside the ground, and then the rain of blood stops. Maya leaves to search for help, unaware the Nature Demonto is still intact and slamming shot on its own. And the film closes here. Thanks for watching.